applied for my MBA, got a $30,000 scholarship from Cornell because of my GMAT score and decided to go to Cornell. It was a fantastic experience. The US MBA is the most well-rounded overall development experience you can have.
Okay. Welcome everyone to another episode of Spill the Tea with Aditi. Today we have Mr. Jinen Kothari with us, who's our very special guest. He holds a master's in business administration from Cornell University. He's worked with very impressive organizations and now he's joined us as a VP consulting in Athena. Welcome, Mr. Jinen. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm well too. Thank you. So you have such a rich background. You've had amazing experiences in education as well as in the industry as a whole. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and history?
Sure. So start from the beginning. I'm from Calcutta. I went to a school called Don Bosco Park Circus. And the environment at that time, around the year 2000 when I graduated from school, the environment at that time was a very typical Indian environment. Like, everyone around me was appearing for IIT JEE.
Right.
And engineering was everyone's passion.
Absolutely.
I followed suit. I couldn't get into IIT JEE, but I got into RVC Bangalore, where I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. So in all these growing up years, even while I was doing my bachelor's, I never planned to go abroad. Forget US, like nowhere abroad.
Okay.
My only plan up towards the final stage of my bachelor's degree, my plan was, get a couple of years of work experience and then CAT, IIMs, etc.
Right.
So graduated as a mechanical engineer. I actually was fortunate enough to get an offer from Toyota in Bangalore. Worked there for a couple of years. Now here's where I would say the first set of fortunate events in my life happened. Nothing that I engineered, it just fell on my lap, right? So while I was living in Bangalore working for Toyota, I was looking for a roommate to share the apartment. And I put it up on the notice board at Toyota, hey, looking for a roommate, whatever. And I found a roommate. Now he happened to be applying for his master's in the US. And I realized that his financial kind of background situation wasn't very dissimilar to mine. So if he can do so, why can't I?
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll just follow along, have somebody to show me every step of the way. Remember, at that point of time, even having laptops at home or computers at home wasn't a standard thing.
Right.
I actually used to go to internet cafes and do research on universities. So I followed his footsteps, applied to only 4 places, University of Cincinnati, where I eventually ended up. But I also had admits from University of Michigan, Virginia Tech, and Texas A&M. The reason I chose Cincinnati was I had a full scholarship, as simple as that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And what I told myself is, okay, it may not be the best branded school out there, but at some stage, you have to trust yourself as well.
Right.
You're getting almost a free entry in education in the US. After that, it's up to you. So I went to Cincinnati, pursued my course in industrial engineering, where I got my first master's and started hunting for jobs. And it was hard at that time because I didn't have that strong a network. I didn't have any US work experience either. And then the next set of fortunate events happened. So one of my friends from undergrad came over to the US for his MBA at University of Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
And he got an internship at a company called NCR.
Okay.
Which was headquartered in Dayton, Ohio at that time. 40 miles from Cincinnati, where I was. So we found each other through, believe it or not, Orkut. Some people listening to this probably never heard of Orkut as well. But this was even before Facebook. There was a social networking or site called Orkut.
Right.
That's where he found me and he said, hey, if you're not doing much, I'm 40 miles from you. Why don't you come here for the weekend?
Right.
I said, yeah, okay, I'm also not doing much. So I'll go. So we all, weekend of partying, everything. I was preparing to leave Sunday night to come back to Cincinnati. And that's when he just kind of, said, hey, I'm working at NCR. I can put a referral in. See if you find any jobs. So I took him up on it. I found a couple of opportunities suited for me and I sent him my resume and, the rest is history. Interview, cracked it, offer letter. First job. You have to remember that point of time, the job market was hard because it had still not fully recovered from first the dot-com bubble in 99 and then the 9/11 incident that happened. Right. So even getting a visa at that time, finding an employer who's willing to sponsor your visa wasn't very easy.
And now in the midst of everything that's happening, I mean, once again, questions like visa and students are just worried if they'd be able to get into the US or not. It always helps, right? If you have things like scholarships. I mean, first thing is that you have an admit to an amazing university. That's your way of putting a very positive step in. And along with that, if you have a scholarship, even better, your chances of cracking that visa is obviously way higher.
Yes and no, I would say. I think the visa, what has become is the number of applicants to the number of available visas. The ratio today is 3 or 4:1. So basically it goes into a lottery system. And as far as I know, I do not think scholarships or the brand of the university is a factor. I think it's just if your name came out from the hat, you're lucky. If not, so, there's a famous incident. I think the CEO of Snapdeal, he went to the US for his MBA and he had an offer from Microsoft, but his name didn't come out in the lottery. I don't think he's very pissed about that, and he's doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah, of course.
It's become much more hard because it's become more expensive. So this lottery system first came into being 2 years after I was looking for my first job. So in a way, I got lucky. Because lottery is pure luck. You went to Harvard or you went to Brooklyn Community College, your chances of coming out in the lottery are the same. So you need an offer. Once you have the job offer, your company's lawyers will make an H-1B application.
Right.
And then everything is the same. So that's fair and unfair, I would say.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I worked for 3 years. Again, I didn't have any plans to do an MBA. I worked for 3 years with NCR and a year and a half of that was in Europe, mainly in UK, but frequent travel to Scotland, Switzerland and Hungary. What happened there was it was a year and a half where my entire paycheck was basically my savings. So again, I have no plans for an MBA at this stage. So I've got my master's done enough. So I would say, in a way, this is the next set of fortunate circumstances. Where are you going to get an opportunity where 18 months, first of all, living and working in Europe, great. And everything paid for, every single dollar of your paycheck is savings. So then after a year and a half, I came back to the US. By that time, I had taken another role at NCR and I started living in Atlanta. And then I looked at my bank account and said, you know what? I don't even have to take a bank loan. An MBA is possible. I was thinking about it and I had a discussion with my boss, I did great over there and I think I'm performing at this level, so I should be this in my organization. And he flat out told me that position level is only for MBAs. So I was already thinking of an MBA and this gave me a real push. This conversation was August or September of that year. And, applications are due in January for the regular round. So I was hurt by that conversation. Within 2 weeks, I took the GMAT. And because I didn't have enough time to build a profile, what I did is looked at the essay topics at the universities and kind of reverse engineered.
Right.
Which of the top 15 universities do I have the best chance in terms of the essays? Right. So again, I ended up applying to only 3 or 4 places. I think it was MIT, Cornell, University of Michigan again, same as my bachelor's. I think it was Northwestern or UU Chicago, one of them.
Okay.
So applied for my MBA and again got a $30,000 scholarship from Cornell because of my GMAT score and decided to go to Cornell. So yeah, it was a fantastic experience. The US MBA is the most well-rounded overall development experience you can have.
Okay.
It's basically, think of a buffet, but it's not an Indian buffet. Think of a world buffet, right? You're basically walking into, let's say, hall the size of a football field where every country is laying out the best foods and it's a buffet. So eat what you want, how much you want. Why I say that is the educational opportunities, not just within the business school, but the electives that you can take across every different school at Cornell, the co-curricular activities, the clubs you can join, the sports opportunities. So I joined the golf club at Cornell because I've played golf since I was 13 or 14. So I joined the golf club at Cornell as well. I also took sailing classes. So these were things I've never, like I said, and then I was in the MBA clubs as well. So I've never done snow sports in my life. So I joined the ski club, mountaineering and ski club.
Okay.
And there was a trip to Wyoming where I learned, after tripping multiple times, how to even balance myself on a ski, right?
Right.
So it was the most perfect overall experience you can have.
Okay.
I took electives in the hotel school. I took electives you can go one of 2 ways. You can chase a GPA and then you can take the most comfortable subjects which get you a 4.0 GPA.
Right.
My thinking was, I'm paying so much out of my savings. I don't care about GPA. I want maximal learning. So I took classes which I had absolutely no clue. Threw myself in the deep end and let's see how it goes.
Interesting.
So like private equity, I remember there was a class on private equity. A professor every Thursday, he used to drive. He was an active private equity professional. He used to drive from New York City to Ithaca every Thursday. One class a week, 6 to 9. Everyone around me had a deeper background in finance, but I still said, you know what, I'm come here to learn. I'm not coming to stat pad my GPA. So lots of co-curriculars. I didn't have the best GPA, but I was always very good at networking. It was during one of these networking events that the next set of fortunate events happened. So I was on a Ivy League networking event in New York City on a weekend. So, it's a mixer. So I'm standing in line at the bar. When I reached the front of the queue, I told the bartender, 15-year Glenfiddich, nothing on it. So I'm one of those whiskey people, mixing with whatever, water, soda is milawat.
Fair enough.
So I heard a sound from behind. Oh, you're one of those. So I looked back. I said, yeah, it's... These people are keeping this whiskey in very special casks, wooden casks in Scotland for 15 years. And now should I put soda in it? Doesn't make sense. So we got talking.
Yeah.
By the way, if you've noticed, the second involvement of alcohol in my... Alcohol along with networking in my career evolution. So this person behind me happened to be a principal at A.T. Kearney, which is a management consulting firm. And it is the best firm for certain practice areas like operations, supply chain management, procurement. And that was my background as well, pre-MBA work background. So we started talking and all that. And, he was Cornell class of 2001.
Okay.
MBA, and he was working at a consulting firm, which I wanted to do. So he left me feelers at that stage. Hey, you know what? If you're ever interested, reach out to me. Let me know if I can help you. So I took him up on it again. He put in my referral. I sent him a resume Monday evening. Tuesday morning, Kearney HR calls me up and tells me, this month's interviews are happening in Chicago. Can you be there on Friday? So yeah, of course.
Okay.
Went for the interview, and consulting is case interviews. Basically, there's no behavioral questions, nothing. It's flat out case interviews, business case interviews, technical if you want to call it. And if you crack all the cases, you make it. So I think I had a good day, cracked all of them. Monday morning job offer, joined Kearney.
Perfect.
And then after that, I was in external management consulting for about 5 years. There's internal consulting also. Typically, a lot of German companies, what they do is set up internal consulting organizations in very specific areas. So if they were going out to the market to hire external firms repeatedly for one kind of project, what they do is identify those project areas and develop those skills internally. They hire ex-consultants and you basically internal consulting. Did that for 3 years. So the company is Bayer, where I did my internal consulting. While I was at Bayer, I gathered, of course, very transformative experiences. The major difference between internal and external consulting was that consultants are expensive. I was an associate at Kearney and my billing rates were $500 an hour. The partners were $1,000, $1,200 an hour, depending on the level of seniority. So what a lot of firms do is, yeah, you know what, you guys are sharp but expensive. So I'll call you in for a couple of months, give me advice, what I should do. But you don't have to implement anything. I will then hire people internally or put my internal teams on it. Or I'll hire a consulting firm which is not as expensive, but more focused on execution rather than strategy and advice. So that was what used to happen. So I'm giving a lot of advice, but I am not really staying back to see if they got implemented. That's where internal consulting comes in, right? You have to, you
have to obviously see it through.
They know where to find you if your advice isn't great. So that is where I would say my consulting experience became more rounded, where I was not just advising, but I was advising from the lens that I have to implement this as well. So let's exercise some discipline and discretion while providing that advice. So I think I became a better overall consultant after my internal consulting experience. So T-Mobile at that point in Seattle was about to buy Sprint. And they were about to undergo kind of the same transformation. And that's why they hired me. So I was at T-Mobile for nearly 5 years. So integration with Sprint, as well as leading the center of excellence at Sprint, setting up the entire procurement organization, operating model, etc., etc. So, and then I kind of decided to come back to India because, there are lots of restrictions. So, by the way, all this was while I was on an H-1B visa. And the green card was nowhere close to happening. I had reached that level of seniority and experience where I was looking for senior jobs. And it's not that easy if you're a visa holder to get jobs of that seniority. So then I tried for about 9 months to a year. And then I just told myself that, you know what, I don't want to be an economic refugee. I don't want to live in the US just for the sake of living. And I'm hearing all these great things about India, like, economy is, 8% and all these things. I said, you know what, there's no harm in trying it out. And honestly speaking, I had the level of financial support that I had built up where even if I didn't work for the rest of my life, I was okay. So I said, what's the harm? So then I came here and I think there were a lot of transferable skills between the head of consulting role at Athena and what I had. So I came across this opportunity. I don't know if this is set of fortunate events or not, but I was basically chilling. After coming back to India, I was just chilling, literally. And then I called one of my friends and asked them, how do you look for jobs in India? Because I didn't have a network or anything. I literally told me, यहाँ पे job कैसे ढूंढते हैं? So he gave me a couple of websites on Naukri.com and IIMjobs and all that. So I said, okay, I'll create an account. Let's see what happens.
Right.
So there was one afternoon where I said just 200 jobs or something. I applied in 2 hours.
Right.
I didn't even know. If I saw something remotely matching what I did, I said, screw this, apply. One of our ex-employees, I think Saransh, he found me on IIMjobs. I think he left a message there. I hadn't even seen the message. Like I didn't ever go back to IIMjobs and see what the status was. And then he called me up. He said, I left you a message on your messenger I think IIMjobs has a messenger or some other portal, right? So then I logged back into that portal, which I had been to only once, applied 200 jobs, never gone back to apply for another job or track what happened to my applications. Right. Then I saw a message 20 days old lying over there.
Right.
And so Saransh, we started talking and I talked to the senior leaders here and even Rahul Poshak when I joined Athena, when I came for the interview. And I guess here I am.
Sounds like an amazing...
So networking is very important. One big lesson. Second one is open-mindedness.
Right.
And if you get a sliver of a chance, or if the door has been left slightly ajar, blow the door up and enter. Take your chances when you get it. I can honestly say, I'm in consulting and I look at all the parents and kids who come here. The kind of effort they put in, the kind of diligence from the parents as well as the students.
Absolutely.
I'm not a good role model if you're applying to the US. I'll be very clear. I'm not a good role model because you don't want to leave so many things on just chance.
No, of course not.
I got lucky at various stages, but I was good enough then to, like I said, if you leave the door ajar by an inch, I'll blow the whole thing open. So that is what I was good at.
Interesting. So I have an interesting question for you. Given everything that you accomplished, given everything that you've done, are there any regrets?